Hello and welcome to the show. This week's Downhill Chaos starts with yet another D series, but another highly modified version. Last time we had a trophy truck style one. This time we have a Baja truck. As you can see, suspension is a bit different. It's quite a bit wider, I think, this truck, or it certainly feels a lot wider to drive. So it had been a bit of a pain keeping this thing stationary on the start line. I'm not 100% sure. The handbrakes didn't seem to want to work, so I had been trying to hold it in reverse and keep it where it was. And in doing that, I broke something. I'm not quite sure what I broke, but it didn't like it. And then we came into the sort of third corner and it just stopped altogether. So trying to hold the car stationary using reverse and handbrake turns out not to be a very good idea. Okay, don't do that. That seems to kill the truck. Again, similar, same corner near enough. Just ran a little bit wide. There's this hidden rock that's been causing a problem last week, caused a problem this week, and I may have then thrown it slightly. That wasn't the cleverest idea. Really managed to bend up the rear wheels. It caused some problems in there. But yeah, this is a very good off-road vehicle. And while I made the odd mistake, again, another common place to roll vehicles, try to carry too much speed, try to throw the car into the corner, couldn't quite work. The angle that I was trying to do there, truck still works alright. But yeah, going for a roll mid-run is never a good idea. After the landing of the jump, try and slide the car through the next corner. Things are going pretty well. I must have snapped the steering though at some point. I don't know what caused the steering to have a problem, but I lost some form of control as we tumbled off the course. Yeah, the way I take some of these corners, I tend to chuck the car in, and if you land just a little bit awkwardly, you can bend steering. I guess that's what I must have done to this truck. But it didn't take very long at all to get a decent run out of this vehicle, because it is very, very capable. This is possibly one of the most suited vehicles I've ever driven down this course. It's really rather good. It is very, very wide, or it certainly feels very wide. Doesn't quite have the turning of some of the other vehicles I've driven. It also doesn't have the ferocious speed of the likes of the Scarab and the Buggy, some of the other cars. It's not quite that powerful, but it is very, very nice to drive. Very easy to drive down this course. The suspension deals with pretty much everything that this course can throw at it. Yeah, there really isn't too many problems. It deals with the bumps, it deals with the landings on the jumps very well. Because it is a bit wider, it doesn't roll over as easily as quite a lot of the high-riding sort of off-road trucks have done. You can still get it to roll, but it's a lot better than you'll find most of them. You see here coming up to the second jump, absolutely no problem whatsoever for this vehicle. It didn't even bounce up in the air on the landing. Suspension-wise, it is incredibly capable around here. We come up towards the final corner, get it around there, and it's just acceleration across the line for the Baja truck, and then we can't quite get it stopped in time. We may bump into the house at the end slightly. Damage-wise, the only damage done to this was once it crossed the finish line. Slightly, the front grille slightly hanging off, and I busted the rear wheel up as I slid across the rocks, I think it is. The rear suspension does seem to be a tiny bit weak. It does seem to be quite easy to kill that. If you land and jump sort of a bit awkwardly. The front suspension as well can be a little bit prone. I think it's because it's just got sort of exaggerated suspension. It is an easy target, if you like, for damage. But otherwise, it's a very good car. Very good vehicle for off-roading this, as you would expect, really, from this style of vehicle. Yeah, it dealt with pretty much everything the course could throw at it. Up next, we have a Vapid cruiser. I'm sure many of you will recognise where this one is from. This is a GTA 4 car that has been made in Beam. So I thought I would give it a go. See how it manages. This is a road car. Okay, remember that. The Baja truck was very nice to drive down here, dealt with the bumps very well, was very controllable. This is not going to be the same. This just doesn't have the suspension to deal with it, as you can already see in the first few corners. It just can't quite deal with the bumps as well as the Baja vehicle could. But things weren't looking too terrible on the opening run. I got quite a long way until I had the front start bouncing in the air at that corner. Once it starts going, I just can't do anything with the car anymore. Of course, wheels in the air, I've got no steering, and I can't really get it stopped very well into this corner, and we end up understeering into a tree, and the car gets a little bit stuck. This is also rear-wheel drive, so you've got to be a little bit careful on the power front. If it was four-wheel drive, I could have sort of held that and got around the corner nicely. As it was, I couldn't quite save it. Fairly reminiscent, I think, of the very first episode of this I did, where I got a Grand Marshal stuck in a very similar place up there. Yeah, most of the cars, or a lot of the cars that have gone down here quickly anyway, have been four-wheel drive, and I'm used to kind of just sliding them through the corners. This is a very tight course, and some of the cars can struggle a little bit with understeer, so I normally just kind of flick the cars around the corners to get it done. This I can't quite do the same with. This has a tendency to just oversteer if you're trying to kind of use the handbrake to get the back of the car turned through some of these corners. It can't quite be done in the same way. We made it to the second jump, and then everything got all out of shape on the landing. Again, another problem area for the road cars, that one. It's not the most spectacular looking of jumps, it's just a horrible one. There's not a very nice kind of takeoff area for it, so a lot of the time, as we will see it again, the cars just land very awkwardly on it. The things like the Baja truck have big enough suspension so that they can deal with it. This vehicle just can't, really. Clip the front or clip the back on the landing of the jump, and that will probably screw you up for the braking zone for a very tight and very steep corner, and then your car ends up down in there when things go a little bit wrong. Understeer was a bit of a problem with this car, I have to say. I turned into a corner, thought it was fine. It wasn't, as it. We've kind of got flat packed. Sure, that's a sentence. Police car. There we go. That we may have fallen off the mountains a little bit and done some damage. I think the car actually still worked, but it was wedged in a ditch, so couldn't really do very much about it. Coming up towards some of the very, very bumpy sections there, this is where you get the understeer. As the car is kind of bouncing around, you're struggling with some steering, it just couldn't turn, and I was not going very fast when I just lost control. I say lost control. I just couldn't turn in the corner. I couldn't stop it in time, and we ended up falling off the course. Hadn't seen too many problems at the first corner with any of the vehicles so far today. I got it a bit wrong this time round, but it wasn't a real major issue. I just got the line wrong into the first corner, got bounced, and then ended up out of position. Again, I tried to take the corner and just. I sort of kind of misjudged it a little bit, and then once the car kind of got a little bit unhappy, started bouncing around, lost steering, and then we understeer off the course. Again, this car is pretty strong. I think it was still working, but yet again, it was stuck in a ditch somewhere, and I couldn't get it out. Guess where we are having more problems? That's not the line to take over there. You really don't want to be taking that particular line over that jump. It's a horrible one. Smashed the front end of the car up, and then I promptly got it beached in not the best of places to. I'm surprised actually I got the car beached there. I've never beached a vehicle on that bit. I've fallen off that bit quite a few times. I've never got one completely and utterly stuck. Again, coming into a similar corner, can we get it turned? No, we can't quite. If we put the foot down, maybe we can get away with it. We might have lost the bumper, slowed ourselves down a little bit, but it's fine. We made it around the corner. I chuck it into the final corner and things. I put a wheel over the edge of the dirt, and that was all it needed. Didn't need too much more encouragement to spin round in a circle. Took a bit of time to get the police car to the bottom of the course. It's got the normal road car problems, really. It's certainly not terrible, but the suspension is not designed to deal with the bumps around this circuit. I'm also not sure if I don't damage the steering. There are times when the wheels look a little bit wobbly, or the front wheels look as if they might be kind of flapping around a bit hopelessly in some of the runs. I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me though, over some of these bumps that this car has to deal with on the route. It's not the fastest of vehicles either, not the quickest of accelerating, certainly not the most powerful. It's rear-wheel drive, so it doesn't have the sort of acceleration out of the corner that a lot of the high-ranking vehicles do have around here. But it's also not atrocious to drive. You know, you can struggle getting the power down, especially around this corner. The exit of that corner there, very, very rough. And if the car's bouncing around, you know, your rear wheel's in the air, you're not going to be able to put any power down, and that doesn't help matters on this course. This jump is horrible, and I couldn't find a good way of taking it. In the end, I just relied on a little bit of luck. You can see the front wheel wobbling around there. I think I might have broken the suspension or something. Yeah, I lost the rear bumper. The front got a bit of a ding. You just can't take it any better in this kind of a vehicle. It's around the final corner, and it's a race across the line. Yeah, it's a normal road car problems really for the Vapid. It's not terrible down there, but I certainly wasn't expecting it to set the leaderboard alight really with its time. It took a bit of a whack, but all of the damage is done in one corner, or one jump I should say. I'm not sure about the suspension. That might have been damaged earlier in the run going over some of the bumps. But yeah, not terrible, but certainly not really suited to this kind of course. And our third and final vehicle is the Chevrolet Silverado, I think is how it's pronounced. I don't know. I'm not very good with pronunciations, as you will all probably know by now. Yeah, it's a bright yellowy greeny pickup truck, this one. Fairly similar to the D-Series pickup truck. This is the off-road 3, version 3 off-road one. That's there's various different versions of this truck. I'm using the off-road one. First attempt, I found that hidden rock that managed to do a hell of a lot of damage. So if you look at the positioning of that rear wheel, that's certainly not right. It managed to roll the truck over as well. Yeah, that's done some damage, that tiny hidden rock. It's caused a few problems. It would soon become apparent that rolling was this vehicle's speciality. You can also, I was really hoping I could get it back onto its wheels, sort of steering and giving it some power. Unfortunately, no. Despite my best efforts, it would remain on its side. No, it's annoyingly not going to go anywhere. Of all the vehicles I've ever driven, this one really did like to roll over. That occasion wasn't the vehicle's fault. That was my fault. I turned in fractionally too early. And I couldn't quite correct it in time. If you turn in too early in that opening corner, because it's so bumpy, you can just run out of time to try and save it because the car's sort of moving around on the bumps. Again, that one, I got it a little bit out of shape. And then in trying to rejoin the track, it managed to find a way to roll over. Yeah, this truck likes to fall over quite a lot. Coming into the first corner, I'm still not entirely sure what caused it. I mean, if I'd clipped the bank on the inside, then fair enough. But I didn't do that. It just fell over on its own. On the second jump, got a bit of a poor landing, and that was more than enough to send the truck into a roll down a mountain, or down the course. Yeah, it did not take much at all to get this truck to fall over. Another corner, just flung it into the corner. It's the way I take these corners, because you know it can be quite hard getting the vehicle stopped. As now we're going, that's just not gone quite to plan. Yeah, because it can be quite hard to get the vehicle stopped in the very bumpy braking zones, I often rely on just kind of sliding the vehicles into the corner sideways and letting the banking of the course do the slowing down. With this, it just falls over, and then it falls over, and then this kind of happens. We're going rather quickly towards a tree. The tree did a good job of catching us and stopping us. It still looks vaguely like a car, which is more than can be said for most vehicles that fall down the mountain. It doesn't work, but that's to be expected. It looks remarkably like the vehicle it started off, which is rare. Yeah, so we go back onto the course and into another roll. One of the slowest speed rolls I think I've ever done. It was just, again, I would slow that down an awful lot to get into the corner. It still just found a way to end up onto its roof. Have a guess what might happen here. Yep, we've gone over again at the same place. I thought we might have another adventure down the side of the mountain. This time, not quite. We can teeter on the edge on our roofs. Well, it's still up there. But, yeah, this is an incredibly easy vehicle to roll. Take a guess. We're going to be in the middle of nowhere and fall over at the Like, how does that? I don't even know how that works. There was nothing for it to fall over on, and still it managed to find a way. And again, I was very slightly on the bank there. Most vehicles would have got away with that. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. Up towards the tree hairpin, and it didn't fall over this time. I hit a bump slightly wrong. And that was all it needed to kind of not get stopped in time. Again, it wasn't terribly low. It certainly wasn't the worst vehicle I've driven down here. It is, after all, a big, sensible off-road truck, really. So the suspension can deal with the bumps. So that same suspension can cause many a problem around here. I don't know why this vehicle is so prone to rolling over. I mean, the monster trucks have far higher centre of masses, and they didn't fall over as easily as this thing does. It's pretty ridiculous. Even on this run, I very, very nearly rolled the truck. It is, yeah, incredibly prone to falling over, which is a shame, because I think this could be really very fast. I think you could get a really very, very quick time if I could chuck this into the corners and not have the problem of it rolling over whenever I tried to handbrake and slide it. I reckon this could set a really fast time. It's a fast accelerating truck, this one. It can deal with the bumps very well, can deal with the jumps if I get them right, which I do on this run. See? Absolutely no problems. Not quite as smooth as the Baja truck, but pretty damn good for the vehicles we've had down here. Problem is I have to be a lot slower coming into these corners than I would like, because I can't chuck it into the corner to get it around. I have to be slow, otherwise it was just going to roll. And then it's the acceleration towards the line, and the Chevrolet has completed its run. Yeah, interesting truck, this one. It could be very, very fast as it is. It is just let down by its tendency to fall over. Again, damage-wise, it was fine down the course. Getting stopped, not quite so fine. Managed to, twist. I did quite a lot of damage from the bumping with the world's strongest shelving unit on this one. Yeah, it's a very good all-round truck, but incredibly easy to roll. If you were doing some proper off-roading, this thing would fall over so easily. But it is good for dealing with the bumps. When it comes to the time, the Baja truck goes into 10th place with a decent time of 1:18.3. I think that truck with a bit more power will be very, very quick down this course. As it is, it's just not quite got the acceleration of some of the other vehicles. So suspension deals with the bumps very, very well, that vehicle. One of the nicest vehicles to drive down this course. The Chevrolet goes into 14th place with a 1:19.9 of a second behind the D series. That, again, that could be a lot quicker if it wasn't for the fact that it just falls over everywhere and I can't throw it through the corners. Carry as much speed as I would ideally like. Further down, we have the Vapid Cruiser with the various road cars with a 1:27.1 with a Golf Mark II and around the Moonhawk area. It's not atrocious, but it just isn't designed for this kind of course. It can't really deal with the rough stuff, and it does struggle to put the power down. So there we go. That is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.